Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So I've seen a lot of YouTubers making NBA mock drafts right now, and I was like, hey, why not I make one myself? Because there are a lot of NBA players in this year's NBA draft that could be potential superstars. From Cade Cunningham to Jalen Green to Scotty Barnes, it's going to be a fun NBA draft this year. It's the best NBA draft scouts have predicted since 2003 class. The first pick in my 2021 NBA mock draft by the Detroit Pistons is Cade Cunningham from Oklahoma State Cowboys. And we don't need to spend too much time discussing it because we already know that Cade Cunningham is the consensus #1 pick. And unless something goofy happens, we know he's going #1. Cade is a 6'8" point guard who kind of plays like Penny Hardaway or LaMelo Ball. He can get to the basket at ease, and that's actually his strength. He's a good passer and a good rebounder. He can see the floor quite well for a 6'8" point guard and has all the tools to become an NBA superstar one day. My only problem with him is hype, because when players get hyped up too much, they actually have a better chance of being a bust. My #2 selection by the Houston Rockets is Jalen Suggs out of Gonzaga. Suggs is a score-first 6'4" guard, which is exactly what the Houston Rockets need. They need a guy like Jalen Suggs to pair him with Christian Wood, and he would be a deadly backcourt with Kevin Porter Jr. He's also a knockdown shooter and can be deadly from the three-point line. His getting to the basket skills make him a dangerous enemy to those who oppose him. Suggs has gathered many hype, and he has also been claimed the second pick in the NBA draft according to the mock draft of NBA.com. In his prime, I bet Suggs could average about 5 assists per game, 20 points a game, and 4 rebounds a game. That seems like a pretty good prediction for Jalen Suggs. The #3 pick by the Cleveland Cavaliers is Jalen Green out of the Ignite G League. And this makes exact sense because they're trying to trade Colin Sexton. So Jalen Green would be Sexton's perfect replacement. And he's an even better player than Sexton. He can get to the rim at will and is one of the best shooters in the draft. He has a knack for his nasty handles and has a very, very high IQ. And he kind of reminds me of James Harden without a killer jumper, although he does have a great jumper, but just not as good as James Harden's. My only problem with him is consistency, because in the NBA he's going to have to be very consistent, and I don't know if he's ready for being a very consistent NBA star just yet. My #4 pick by the Toronto Raptors is Evan Mobley out of USC. And the reason the Raptors would do this is because Evan Mobley is exactly what the Toronto Raptors need. They need a traditional center, because keep in mind the center that they had last year was Aaron Baines. But Evan Mobley's success depends on his willingness to play the game. Sometimes we can see him be a bit sloppy on defense and offense and not really care. But he has bust potential, but what he needs to do is just get into the weight room and work, because he's a bit slim for a 7-foot center. He's gonna get banged around a lot in the post by other bigs, but he has the potential to be a back-to-the-basket freak of nature who can just score when he wants to. And I'm not kidding, Evan Mobley could be the next Bam Adebayo. My 5th pick in the draft by the Orlando Magic is Jonathan Kuminga out of the Ignite from the G League. Kuminga is a 6'10" first scorer and has been compared a lot to Pascal Siakam because they're both very similar in the sense that they like to score off the dribble. Kuminga's footwork also is very similar to Siakam's. Kuminga can be a good three-point shooter when he wants to be, but with the G League Ignite, he only shot 2 threes a game last season, making one of them. But if he increases that number to about 6 attempts per game in the NBA, he could be a deadly shooter from 3, as we know that he shot 50% from the three-point line this year. That means in the NBA, he could shoot 50% from the three-point line and 3 for 6 every single night. My 6th selection in the draft by the Oklahoma City Thunder is James BouKnight, who BouKnight has the potential to be a deadly passer and one of the best scorers the league has ever seen. BouKnight is a 6'5" 2 guard who can run the ball at any time he wants to. He can take a backseat to the point guard and play on the wing, or he can bring the ball up the court and just splash a 3 right in your face. He's a very dangerous offensive opponent because you never know what he's going to be able to do on the court. He can surprise you sometimes. Sometimes he'll be shooting a 3 and splashing it, and sometimes he'll be dunking it right in your face. My 7th selection in the NBA draft by the Golden State Warriors is Scotty Barnes out of Florida State University. Scotty Barnes' tenacity makes players shiver at the thought of him. He's a very aggressive player who can steal the ball from you at any second or moment and will just rip it. He can also block very effectively and is one of the most defensive players in the draft. But don't underestimate his scoring. Even though he only scored 10 points per game this year in college, he can be a very deadly scorer and can surprise us when he scores the ball. So he can be a great scorer if he wants to put the ball in the hoop. And that'll all depend on his willingness to put the ball in the basket in the NBA. But a great defender that I would definitely recommend drafting. My 8th pick for the draft from the Orlando Magic is Davion Mitchell out of Baylor. Mitchell may be small at only 6'0", but he can be a very deadly three-point shooter. And he's a very off-the-dribble player who likes to knock it down from 3, but can also surprise you when he goes to the basket. He's a sneaky defender also, who can get blocks and steals. His efficiency is off the charts, and that's why he's going to be a top 10 player in this year's draft. He has a very high IQ and knows what to do with the basketball when they put it in his hands. Mitchell has no problem whatsoever scoring the ball, as he averaged 14 points a game in college. The reason Mitchell is falling down to number 8 on my draft list is because he's a junior, and draft scouts think that freshmen have the most potential and will go number 1. My 9th pick in the NBA draft this year from the Sacramento Kings is Keon Johnson from Tennessee Tech. So, when I heard Keon Johnson is 6'5", it surprised me a lot because he doesn't play like he's 6'5". He plays like a 6'9" forward who can crash the boards and dunk it whenever he wants to. He plays more like a forward than a guard, and that's exactly what the Sacramento Kings need. They've been lacking forwards in the past few years, and Keon Johnson would be the perfect fit to grab a forward at that position. The Kings have also been lacking defensive stoppers lately, and Keon Johnson has no problem getting 2 or 3 steals per game. He's a defensive specialist who could really help out the Sacramento Kings' defensive abilities. My 10th pick for this year's NBA draft by the New Orleans Pelicans is Ayo Dosmuno. Dosmuno can go get you a bucket at any time, and that's why he averaged 20 points a game in college, and why he was so effective on the offensive end. He's had a few draft workouts, and scouts think he's going to be a very, very talented player in the long run. The 6'5" guard has a lot to be excited about in the NBA. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Click subscribe, turn notifications on, like, share, comment, all the good stuff. And as always, I'm your boy Hyper Hooper Basketball, and we're out.